Hi everyone, it's Lynn. Welcome back to my channel. And I'm going to show you a process video. It'll be in steps, but I am making a corset journal. And I first saw it on actually TracyJDesigns. And she made these beautiful journals, and I wanted to make a prototype because I want to make one for a gift for a couple. And she also referred me back to the original by BohemianCrafting. And so this is my prototype journal that I made. It uses it has regular size paper in it, and the images, oh shoot, I forget where they're from, but they're just gorgeous. They're I want to say TracyJDesigns. I'll put it up on my description below, but the images are really pretty, but not so much for a wedding. So, and the other thing I didn't like was I had to cut the pages down, and the pictures, the images for the journal that I'm going to be working on, I am using the full size 8.5 by 11 folded in half, and so I could, and that journal could use the extra room on the edges. So I'm going to give you step by step. I'm making this. It ends up to be is it 1 inch longer, 1.5 inch longer, this way. So it's a wider journal, and you have to cut an extra piece out to make the center binder. That's the center here of the papers, and then do your same. But the rest of the journal is the same. All right. It also makes the front and the back. This, I believe, I left the same. No, this is a little bit larger as well. So let me start you off and give you the dimensions as I work along and show you how this goes. So first of all, you need, I prepared all of my papers. So the first thing you wanted to do is you have to pick out your paper that you want to use. And if you can see in here, here's the extra piece that I end up having to glue in order to make it a little bit wider. So it actually is wider this way. And so you need a 12 by 12 sheet of paper for that. The paper I'm using is from, it's an old one, Prima Marketing. I got it from a long time ago, but you know, I just pulled out a piece of paper, just like they did on the original videos. And this is the one I picked out for this, because this is going to be covered. This will be my inside. And so, okay, what you want to do is from 12 by 12, you want to cut one 12 by 8 3/4. So it's 8 3/4 high. So 12 inches. By 8 3/4, and I believe that's the original. That's how long it is. I'm using the Tim Holtz Tonic paper trimmer. It's been working out okay. So this will just save off because we are going to need this. This sheet, the one we just cut, the 8 and 12, you're going to want to cut this in half. And so since it's a 12-inch sheet, you want to cut it 6 inches, so it's in half. So you have 6 and 6. All right. And of course I didn't cut. There we go. And then we still need the binding piece. And what you want to cut from that is let's see, from our leftover piece here, sorry. From the leftover piece, you want to cut a 2 inch by 8 3/4. And this is going to give us our spine area. So it doesn't matter, I mean, you can take a look at how you want it to look in the inside. This is going to be an inside piece. That's kind of why I picked this. Kind of looks like ledgers, but you're going to do it's going to be 2 inches by 8 3/4. So make it 2 inches wide. up. Press. And then 8 3/4. Don't know why that's not cutting very well. Hopefully it's not going bad already. All right, you can set that aside. The next steps that you needed to do for the cover is to make your folds. You want to do your scoring, and it's important to get it scored just right. So you have to remember where's your front and where's your back. These are going to be my inside. This is going to be my outside. That it's going to get covered. So on each of these you want to make a 1/4 inch score. So 1/4 inch, oops, on the edge. It'll be easier to do it this way. Turn upside down and make a 1/4 inch on that side, and it's going to give you a score on there. That's actually our glue mark. That's going to be our glue mark. Again, you see one in the inside. You can see them right here, one there and one here. Then you're going to take the 2-inch piece that you just that you also cut. Here's your 2-incher, and you're going to score it every 1/4 inch. So it doesn't actually matter. It's probably easier to line it up over here on our edge and do a 1/4 inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's getting tight there. I'm gonna flip it. 6, and there's 7. So there's 7 here. There's still 7. I think the original still marks off as 7 as well. And it kind of bows a little bit, which is fine. That's where you want it. All right, so we are done scoring for now. And we can set that aside. Now you're gonna go and glue these together. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and glue these pieces together to make one large piece. And so I'm just using art glitter glue. I am going to put some glue on this edge. Oh, just to make sure, because I haven't done this. I did this a little bit ago. Yeah, you wanna put it on the inside edge, if you see here, and glue it down. And it'll be, like I said, it'll be covered up anyway by fabric on that side. So just run yourself a nice line of glue on one side and then glue that in right up to the score mark. Keep it nice and straight. You get a little bit of time to move it. Go ahead and move it. And then the other side as well. Sorry, that's my dog. She likes to be invited into the room, and I have totally shut her out. So she is gonna wanna come in. All right, there we go. So this is the base for the journal itself. And by making this 2-inch spine, oh, time to let her in. So we used to have a 12 by 12, but now we have a 13.5 inch cover, which gives me 3/4 of an inch on each side which helps for making the signatures, and the 11 by 8.5 inch papers fit in better. Well, I haven't finished it yet, but that's what I'm going for. All right, so that part is done. I'll probably be using, instead of 4 signatures, there'll be 5 in here. I should be able to put 1, 2, 3. Actually, it says I have 4. I have to do some recalculating. I'm hoping to get 5 signatures in here. All right. So next, one thing you want to do is prepare your outside covers. And I've already cut them, so I'm just going to give you the dimensions of each of them. You're going to need 2, you see that? 8.5 by 5.5 pieces of, this is actually recycled corrugated cardboard. You can use chipboard, but you're going to need 2 of those. 2 8.5 by 5.5 inch. And these are going to be covered. I haven't covered them yet. I will do that next. You could use the same instructions as before, but you also need 1 8.5 by 1.5 inch as well, one out of the same material. And this will be the binding part. So this is what it'll be like this. So these need to be covered by the paper that you want to use that will go on the outside of the journal. I'm going to set these aside because I want to show you the next step I did. I have them cut and ready to go for when I'm going to put the paper on. I actually haven't decided what paper to use. So the next step was a little bit something I came up with. I wanted to use lace, and I was having a very hard time finding lace. I thought about using an old wedding dress, my old wedding dress, but I just could not cut it up. So what I did is I went through all my fabrics that I have and couldn't find something that matches. I don't have a ton, but you know, I have enough different colored fabrics. Still couldn't find what I was looking for because I am looking for a lavender. Well, let me show you why. The pages that I'm using are these lavender, they're I forget who it's by, but it's a lavender wedding images. So these are the ones I did. They're actually 12 by 12 pictures that I've I put them at 95% and I printed them. So you know, it's a unique color. Even this doesn't match, as well as this cover. It's closer, but it still didn't match. The inside was fine, but it didn't match, and I really wanted something to match this. And so what I did, what I'm gonna do, I took this, this is cheesecloth. I got it to use for something else. And it's thicker than the cheesecloth, like that you buy from the store. I think it's grade 90. It's a grade 90, very fine mesh weave. Got it off of Amazon. I was using it for something else. So what I'm doing, and I haven't sewed it on there yet, but I do have one done, is I cut a piece. It doesn't have to be perfect because again, this is going to be sewed down when we're done, but and you could probably use this by itself, and get the see-through effect on this. But because I wanted it to match these papers, this is what I did, and I like the outcome of the one I did so far. So I took I decided I wanted to match the color, so I took distilled water and one of my, don't cringe if you're if you use fountain pens, but I used some of my Amethyst de Laurel James Herbin. It's actually a shimmer, and I poured some of that inside to make this lovely purple lavender color. And you can see I've already done it on one of mine, but what I do is I put this fabric, whoops, a little bit too fast, inside. Don't forget to have some cloths on the side to wipe up your mess, because it does get a little messy. But I slowly put it in here, and it has some sort of coating because it takes a little while to absorb the little mixture that I have here, the ink and whatever else. So I put it in here, and you have to kind of like move it a little bit, because otherwise you get like a tea dye effect, which isn't a bad effect actually. I added a little bit more water in here, and I probably shouldn't have added so much, but I probably put I don't know, I put a good amount of the purple ink inside here. I mean, I poured enough in so you can see it doesn't go all the way through, but I'm pushing it inside. So when my fingers are purple, and pushing the air out so that I get most of it, if not all of it, covered. You still can see, yeah, there's some sort of coating on it that you know, you have to actually push it and make sure that all the white pieces are covered with the ink solution. So it's just distilled water in a good amount. If you don't like the way that the color comes, and as you can see, mine's pretty dark. It looks darker in this light, but yeah, play with it a little bit. I like I said, I did make it pretty dark. And then you take it out, just wring it out, and like there'll be a couple pieces you'll see here that still have some white on it. Here's another one. Just work with it until you get it the color you want. So if you wanted a blue cover, you can make it blue. If you wanted pink, you could, you know, if you had some pink dye, or you know, the other thing you can use is Tim Holtz has his what do you got? The distress inks. Oh, actually, I have this one, which is what I use to stain the what's called the seam binding for the last journal. So I'm going to use this as well to do the seam binding. I will make it that color, and I might add a little bit darker color to it, or maybe lighter. All right, so once it's done, I'm going to show you what I did to dry it, because I was very impatient at this point. So you can see it's good, and it still has some color in it, but it's okay. It should absorb it. Once it starts absorbing, it should be a little bit easier. These are just my rags that I use. I try not to use paper towel. I have cut up old diapers that I use, all these cotton diapers, and I've sewed the edges up, and I use those to clean up my messes. So what I did to dry it is I took a couple of those chopsticks that you get from the takeout places, that they're in your box and you go, I really didn't need them. I have regular chopsticks to use, and I loaded it on. All I did was take these sewing clips. I clipped it to the top, and then I hung it up and I dried it with a hand dryer. And so here's my outcome. The outcome, I love how it turned out. There's a little bit of white on it here or there. If you really didn't like that, you could ink it up again and just dry it. But this is what I have. Move this stuff out of the way. And so when I take it off of the chopsticks, so I just put them on there, and what it does is the chopsticks gave it a little bit more like this fabric, this cheesecloth will get puckery like this. It's just the way it is. It wrinkles very easily. And so what I did is I used the chopsticks with the clips to keep it from actually puckering up even more. Although I like what I have so far, you know, I didn't want it any more wrinkled than this. So you can see that the images match pretty close to what I wanted. This is a vellum sheet, but it matches what I need. So, you know, the technique that you can use anytime, you know, to make a cover that you want to match. So the next thing you're gonna do is the same thing that going back to the original directions, is I lightly glue the fabric on here and sew around the edges. So I'll go ahead and lightly glue. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac. And then I'll pull out my sewing machine. I'll do that offline. I'll pull out the sewing machine, and I'll sew around the edges just a little bit so that it doesn't it gives it that finished edge. I should have did 1/2 at a time. I did that last on the first journal. I actually did half of it because I didn't want, this is really light, this fabric, and it is doubled. This is not single, it's a doubled edge. So if I took it apart, you'd see, here I'll show you, there are two, I doubled the fabric like that. And I did not pull it apart at all. I left it together, and that's so I get a good coverage on my, to cover up these roses, because I didn't really want the roses underneath. I'll put a little bit more glue on here on this side and finish gluing it. And there we go. Pick it up and make sure it's nice and flat. Even though you're going to put the boards on, and you know you're going to cover those boards and stuff, it's always nice to have a good base so that the fabric doesn't move when because I'm not turning it to glue it. I'll just be pinking the edges, or I'll be making the edges a little bit raw so they look a little bit aged. All right, I'm gonna stop here and step away for a bit, and I'm gonna pull out my sewing machine. I'm gonna sew it. I'm gonna trim it too. Oh, I should have pulled that up a little bit more here before I stop. There we go. There. I'm gonna trim the edges, and then I'm gonna sew around it, and then we'll be ready for this next steps. I'll be right back. Before I step away and sew that, I'm gonna show you how I attach this. All I did was take the fabric and kind of stretched it out a little bit, put a clip in the middle first, another clip on one end, and then another clip on the opposite end. And then I turn around and do the same thing on the other side. So kind of stretch it out just a little bit right now. Let's pull up my fabric, my cheesecloth, put one there, one here, and you can let it dry by itself. I actually pull out my little dryer and I dry it because I was, like I said, I was impatient and wanted to get a bunch of this worked out today. So there we go, that's what it looks like, and I'll be back.